Today's learning outcome is understanding database design. This is LO2. So last time we were in the mid of the learning outcome, which is the LO1, and a few of the slides were left. So I'm going to complete those in a minute. Then I will go ahead. So database schema, as I had discussed earlier, that there are physical as well as logical schema. Schemas are the layers. So when you really store the data at the physical level, then that is the storage media. And at the logical level, you basically view the data, and the logical view is normally represented into the relational model. So hence the schema describes the level of the database layer. Similarly, you can further classify the database management system levels at 4 levels, like external level, logical and internal level, and the physical level. So the physical level is again the storage, which is on the hard drives, and the two other normally the middle layer or the logical layer is called the internal level or conceptual level, which describes the schema, and external level gives the browser view. For example, external view is the highest level in the data abstraction. At this level, users see the data in the form of rows and columns, and this level illustrates the users how the data is stored in terms of tables and relationships. Users view full or partial database on the business requirement. The users will have different views here based on the level of the access rights. For example, students will not have access to see the lecturer's salary details. One employee will not have access to see other employees' details unless he is a manager. And at the external level, the view of the database could be given to any of the device or any of the layer. For example, a view is a highest level of abstraction, and which could be given to anyone irrespective of the internal level or physical level, as well as how it looks like. For example, how it shows to the browser, how it shows to the any particular form, any application. So these are the explanation about the logical and internal levels, and the physical level I explained. Now we come to the big data. Big data means really a very big data, collection of large data sets that cannot be processed using the traditional computing techniques. Big data is not merely a data, rather than it becomes a complete subject which involves various tools, techniques, and frameworks. So we can say that anything which is beyond the databases and is basically the big data. Big data involves the data produced by different devices and applications. Given below are some of the fields that come under the umbrella of big data. Black box data. A black box data, it is a component of, for example, helicopter, airplanes, jet, etc. It captures voices of the flight crew, recording of microphones, earphones, and performance information of the aircraft. So normally the big data and is not stored into the conventional databases, but it is basically the special type of the databases, which is called the big data. Another form of the big data is the social media data. The social media data is again not the conventional media, but it is the specialized form of the database, which is called the big data, because this the social media such as the Facebook, Twitter, and these things cannot be stored with the conventional ordinary databases, but they are a kind of big data stored into various database components and specialized components. Stock exchange data, that's again not the the conventional database, but it comes under the category of big data. Search engines data are also not taken from the one particular database, but they have an algorithm and they are being taken from a special kind of big data applications. So big data can have three types, like structured data, which is normally the relational data. Semi-structured data could be represented with the XML data. Unstructured data could be Word, PDF, text, media, logo. So really depending on the type of the data, it is not necessary that every data which is stored into the big data must have the similar structure, but the model of the schema could vary, such as the relational data, which could be stored into the tables, and semi-structure, which could be stored into the XML data. XML data is a kind of data structure in the form of tree, and unstructured is normally the Word, PDF, text, media, logos, and etc. etc. So there is something about the big data management. Big data management depends, it needs the organization, administration, governance of large volumes of both structured and unstructured data. Some theoretical background, and certain applications of big data can be the banking and securities, the communications and media entertainment, healthcare providers, education and manufacturing, and natural resources. So all these big data applications use the concept of big data model, and they really utilize this concept beyond the database, beyond the conventional database management systems. Now next is the transaction processing. In computer science, transaction processing is information processing that is divided into indivisible operations called transactions. Each transaction must succeed or fail as a complete unit. It can never only be partially complete. So when it comes to the transaction processing of a database, then it must be completed or fail, but it cannot be, the partially complete. So, for example, if you are using the database of a bank, and if you wanted to transfer some amount from one account and you wanted to send the amount to somebody else, then either the transaction will be completed or it would fail due to any reason, but there won't be the case that half amount would have been transferred and half amount would have been left. So that is about the transaction. Transaction processing systems is an information processing systems for business transactions involving collection, modification, retrieval of all transaction data. Characteristics of transaction processing systems include performance, reliability, and consistency. TPS is also known as transaction processing or real-time processing. So transaction processing has some kind of transactions, some certain methods need to be used: read item, modify item, written item. So some little bit more theoretical background is given in this slide. I will go further because this particular LO and the next LOs are somehow need more concentration, and I have tried to give more and more the stuff into the slides, and I have explained the concept of transaction processing. You can further go through and reread these bit theoretical slides after the session. So certain operations may involve, like begin transaction, read an item or write an item, end transaction, commit, and rollback. So normally when you start the particular transactions, and commit and rollback are basically the key functions into the database command. When you say commit, it means you are storing the transaction. If you say rollback, it means every item will be undone. For example, if you wanted to let the transaction succeeded, if you wanted the transaction succeeded, then the commit will allow you to store on the both sides. For example, if you wanted the amount to be taken from one bank account to another bank account, then one of the account will be debited and another account will be credited. And if, for example, if your money was taken from your account but it could not reach to the other account, then the overall transaction will be rolled back and your amount will remain as it is. So certain states of the transaction: active, partially committed, failed, aborted. So during the transaction processing systems, certain states are to be considered while you are considering a database development systems or such type of the systems. Next is the OLTP, online transaction processing, is a class of software programs capable of supporting transactions oriented applications on the internet. Typically, OLTP systems are used for order entry, financial transactions, customer relationship management systems, retail sales. So when you are really dealing with the this kind of the financial transaction related systems, basically you will be using the OLTP, online transaction processing systems. And there is another one, online analytical processing server, is based on the multi-dimensional data model. It allows managers and analysts to get an insight of the information through fast, consistent, and interactive access to information. So basically we started to discuss from the transaction processing, then transaction processing, certain states of the transaction, certain commands of the transaction processing. You could also explain the certain states and type of the transaction processing. This one another type of the transaction processing for the managers. So overall, we are giving an overview of these transaction processing systems, big data, databases, type of the databases, relationship databases, and so on. And next is the data quality management. The data quality management is an administration type that incorporates the role establishment, role deployment policies, responsibilities, and processes with regards to the acquisition and maintenance, disposition, distribution of the data. So you are dealing with the database management system. You have to be careful about the data quality, and data quality is concerned with the establishment, deployment, the policies, responsibility, and processes related with acquiring the data, maintaining the data, disposing the data, distribution of the data. So these concerns should be kept in mind for the data quality, database quality control. So database quality control is also the concern that the information should be accurate, the quality should be assured, and you should get the reliable data instead of unreliable data. So there's little bit more further, the theoretical concepts, but I will read important concepts so that we could complete the particular learning outcome and key other concepts. Next is the data integrity. The data integrity is the reliability, basically. It's the maintenance and assurance of the accuracy and consistency of the data over its entire life cycle, and it is critical aspect to design, implement, and usage of any system which stores, processes, or retrieves the data. So once you have a database, if we start from the concepts of database management system, then we started with the review of the database management system. Then we spoke about the type of the database management systems. Then we discussed the relational model, and we discussed certain entities into the relationship model. Then we discussed about the levels, that how the relational model or database model lies, whether it's on the physical level, whether it's on the logical level, then certain external level is also involved, then something which is beyond the databases, which is called the big data. Big data is kind of a very enhanced, very big kind of database, which is not the conventional one, so which is used in the black box data, social media data, stock exchange, search engines, etc. And there is certain data management, and the big data is used for banking, communications, healthcare, education. And when you come across the using the database for the transaction purposes, because if you have a database, you keep the database for certain purpose. It's not the case that you only store the data, but you can, most of the time you can do the transactions, the record processing, the calculations of any organization. So obviously there will be some numerical data, and those are the transactions. The transaction, it's not necessary that it's a money involved transaction, but the transaction could any be the document delivery. So the concept is that kind of transaction processing involves certain stages, certain methods, and certain states. Kind of OLTP, online transaction processing systems, they have a particular model, and they have a service to do the online transactions for the managers. You should consider the data quality, you should consider the database quality, you should consider the integrity or the the reliability of the data, whether it is accurate or whether it is not accurate, whether it is consistent, any doubt in the data. And also you should consider about the security of the data, so that whatever the data is available to you, nobody unauthorized access could be held. For example, it shouldn't be the case that for example, there is a computer that any peon of the organization could access it. No, only the authorized person should be able to access it. So that's the database security. So we discussed about the remaining part of the learning outcome 1, which was the first session of the relational database systems. And Khalid has also joined now, and now I hope the Khalid is listening to me, to the lecture as well. I will continue with the session 2. It means learning outcome 2 of the relational database systems. So let me come to the learning outcome 2, and to finish by 7 o'clock, and then I will start the learning outcome 3 from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Hence, we will be able to complete this unit, the relational database systems, the LO1, understanding the database management system, which we did last time, and half of it we did today. And after a while, I will be doing the understanding the database design for next 30 minutes, and in the next hour, I will be doing the third learning outcome, be able to design a database system. So far, for Khalid and relational data, and Khalid and Yusuf, you have been completed by the 3 units: the computer systems and software, the management and information systems, and relational database systems. So far you will be done for 3 units. Okay, so let me start with the relational database systems learning outcome 2. What is a relational database system? In a relational database system is a situation that exists between relational database tables through foreign keys and primary keys. A foreign key is a column or combination of columns that is used to establish and enforce a link between 2 tables Like following diagram, student course enrollment. There is a relationship between the course. There is a table course, there is an enrollment table, there is a student table. So they are connected with each other using certain connections, associations, which are normally the foreign key and the primary key. So we will explain the primary key and foreign key in next slides, and let us see that how the particular tables of a particular domain are connected. So as we discussed earlier, that this unit is the relational database systems. So in the relational database systems, the data is stored into the form of tables, and tables are composed of the rows and the columns. So one course, now look at the database design relationships. In the above diagrams, you can see some sort of associations, relationships between the tables. There are three types of the relationships between the tables, and relationships between different tables depends on how they are related columns which are defined. One to many relationship. It means on one side there is one, and there are on other side there are many. Another one is the many to many relationship, one to one relationships. Let's see how one to many relationship. In one to many relationship is the most common type of relationship. In this type of relationship, a row in a table can have many matching rows in a table B. You have a one table, you can have a many matching rows in a table B. But a row in a table B can have only one matching row in a table A. Foreign key is defined in the table that represents the many end of the relationship. For example, in the diagram above, student and enrollment tables have one to many relationship. Each student may have many enrollments, but each enrollment belongs to only one student. You can have a look. One is written, one student can be enrolled to many courses. It means it can have many enrollments, but each enrollment can have only one student assigned. It cannot be the case that one enrollment could be related with two students. Many to many relationships. In many to many relationships, a row in a table A can have many matching rows in a table B and vice versa, but you can create such a relationship by defining a third table called a junction table, whose primary key consists of a foreign key from the both table A and table B. For example, student and course tables may have many to many relationships. For example, one student can have many courses, and many courses, or if we say that one course could be selected by many students. So it will not be easy to create a relationship between them, but you will need to define a third table, enrollment, through which you can define this relationship. Like one course is connected with enrollment, and enrollment is connected with one student. In this way, the particular course is having the relationship with many students, and one student can have the courses, more courses. So many to many relationship is there. One to one relationship. In the one to one relationship, a row in a table A can have no more than one matching table in the row B, vice versa. Basically, one to one relationship is a case that you are not having more than one association of one item into the other, column. For example, if I say that there are only one student and one course existing, there are no more options available to anyone. For example, if I say that a college has only one course and it is the course for only one student forever, then that particular, the requirement would be fitted into one-to-one relationship. Then if that is the case, then you will not need to create the two tables. Indeed, probably you could create only one table having name of the particular college or institute. Let's say course, it will be the one item of a column, and student will be the second item of the second column. So there is no need to create more than one table. So literally this one-to-one relationship does not exist practically. But if you need it, then you will need to create only two tables, and each entity will be corresponding with one entry, another entry into the other table, and that will not be useful to create two tables at all. Primary key. A primary key is a field in a table which uniquely identifies each row record in a database table. Primary key must contain unique values. A primary key column cannot have null values. So when you really say a primary key, it means it will uniquely identify a row or record. It must be unique value, cannot be null. So customer ID is uniquely identifying a customer with a customer ID. It is always unique and it cannot be null. Null means there cannot be a case when you, for example, if you had a forename and you did not have a surname available, it could work, but it could not work that you have names but you are missing the customer ID. So that's the primary key set. If you are dealing with the database, then in order to create a such table, you will need to define this command by creating a table using this command. This is a SQL command, create table. Customer ID is integer, not null. Forename should be varchar 20 size. It should also be not null. Surname should be varchar 20, not null. Primary key is basically the customer ID. So that's about the customer ID. Foreign key. A foreign key is a key used to link the two tables together. This is sometimes called as a referential key or referencing key. A foreign key is a column or combination of columns whose values match the primary key in a difference table. So have a look here. When you have two tables, probably you could store all the customer information into one table and the order information into another table. Then you could really connect the customer table with order table by reducing the number of fields, such as when you need to use a customer ID, then you could connect the customer ID column in the customer table with customer ID column in the order table. When you define the primary key in one table, then you associate the foreign key into the other table of the order, so that every time you can connect two tables and you will not need to duplicate or rewrite the other fields. So hence, when you really want to utilize the concept of database and minimizing the duplication of the data, then you need to have multiple tables and join them using the primary key and foreign key. Possibly the order detail could be like order number, customer ID, order date could be stored into this customer, the table, but it would have not been useful, or maybe every time you could write every information of the customer again and again into the order, it will not be good. So you only need to require the customer ID in the order or invoice, so that you should not have any excess of the data shown. So this is about the kind of relationships between the customer ID and the used in two tables, which is obtained by using primary key and foreign key. Referential integrity is the relationship in the relational database concept, which states that the table relationship must always be consistent. In other words, any foreign key field must agree with the primary key that is referenced by the foreign key. So, for example, here is the table 1, here is the table 2. The artist IDs are 1, 2, 3, and in another table the artist IDs are 3, 4, 5. Now, you look at this, that 3 is common in both tables, but 1 and 2 as well as 4 is not existing into the first table. However, 3 is existing into this table. So one link is broken. If one linkage is broken, primary and foreign key relationship we discussed earlier, it means the referential integrity is not obtained. What we can say, that a database that has not enforced the referential integrity, in this example there is a foreign key value with no corresponding primary key value in the reference table. So if this is the case, in this case the referential integrity is not enforced. So in this way you can define what is referential integrity. It means referential integrity, if the referential integrity is enforced, then what should have been the case? 1, 2, 3, then either 1 should have been here in all 3 columns, 2 should have been here in all 3 columns, 3 should have been all 3 in 3 columns, or 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 would have been repeated here, and there should have not been any broken link. Domain integrity. Domain integrity ensures the data values inside a database follow defined rules. For example, range and format. A database can enforce these rules using variety of techniques, including foreign key constants, check constants, unique constants, default constants. So, domain integrity. A domain is called a kind of giving a range to a particular column. When you say you are creating a foreign key, it is saying that the data is defined for a particular domain. A data domain has been defined. When you want to apply a check constant, then it is a domain integrity. When you apply a unique constant, it comes under the domain integrity. Default constants, it comes under the domain integrity. The domain integrity is basically acceptable values for a column, or entering correct data for a particular column. When you say that a number can only accept the number but not the names, it means the check constants are applied there. When you say that in table the customer IDs cannot be repeated, then it is a kind of unique constant. So domain integrity is defined in this way when you say that name should be a type of varchar. Var is this is a type. These are the syntax of the programming in a database. When you say that varchar means a character type variable which could be maximum size of 50. A gender could be a character of size 1, which can be only the, for example, male or female. The age could be any integer. So basically you are defining the domain integrity. Entity integrity refers to having uniqueness among entity. One of the data entity example is having primary key in each table. So an entity having integrity, it means the primary key integrity is basically the entity integrity. So when you say that have you applied the entity integrity, it means have you applied the primary key into each table, and in other words you can say that primary, the entity of a column defining primary key is basically giving you the integrity about an entity. Foreign key integrity is basically the referential integrity and is used to check whether the referential integrity is in act or not. So we discussed earlier the referential integrity here. So if this is in the enforcement, then referential integrity is there. If the referential integrity is not there, then it means it is not integrity involving, and the foreign key is also known as the referential integrity. Normalization. In relational database design, we not only want to create a structure that stores all of the data, but we also want to do it in a way that minimize the potential errors. When we work with the data, the default language for accessing data from a relational database is SQL. In particular, SQL can be used to manipulate data in the following way: insert new data, delete unwanted data, and update existing data. Similarly, in an unnormalized design, there are three problems that can occur. So, in the relational database, it's not only to create a structure or store the data, but in what way we should store so that there should not be any potential errors. The potential errors could be insert anomaly. This refers to the situation when it is impossible to insert certain types of data into a database. Delete anomaly. The deletion of a data leads to unintended loss of additional data, the data that we had wished to preserve. Update anomaly. This refers to the situation when updating the value of a column leads to database inconsistencies. So, basically, you should normalize the database. You should make the database error-free so that you should not have any problem. For example, that if you wanted to insert a data, then it could be inserted into the database easily. When you delete a data, then the particular data should only be deleted. it shouldn't affect the any other data. You should be sure about its deletion process. When you come to the update anomaly, it means when you really wanted to update not only one table but all other relevant tables, then it should do automatically. It shouldn't be the case then at some you did a change into the, for example, stock, or you removed something from the stock and something was sold to the customer, then it shouldn't be the case that stock was not reduced its quantity. So this is really a concern that your database should be error free by applying the normalization techniques. To address three problems in previous slide, we go through the process of normalization. When we go through the normalization process, we increase the number of tables in the database while decreasing the amount of data stored in each table. Increasing the amount of table means the relevant data should be in particular tables, and obviously if you will remove or reduce the table and the data from particular table, it means you are reducing the data, but obviously you are trying to reduce the duplication of the data. While there are three different types of database normalization. It's a first normal form, second normal form, third normal form. The first normal form. The database is in the first normal form if it satisfies the following condition: contains only atomic values. There are no repeating groups. An atomic value is a value that cannot be divided. For example, in the table shown below, the values in the color in the first row can be divided into red and green. Hence, this is not in first normal form. Look at the color. If the product ID 1 has two colors, red and green, then you cannot store two colors into one column, and this is basically the database violating or not complying the first normal form. So you need to correct it so that it shouldn't be the case that obviously the color column can only hold either red or green, but it cannot store two at one time. So how you can do this? You can really do this by splitting the tables. Let's say here is the table product color. Product ID 1 has a red, product ID 1 has a green, 2 has a yellow, 3 has a green, 4 has a yellow, 4 has a blue. So you can create another table like a product ID 1 has a price 15.99. Product ID 2 has a price 23.99, and similarly you can select the colors in either side. So this is the basically the first normal form. You define the colors that product ID can have two colors, and further you will have a question that how you would know that which color you want, but obviously you will need to create, you will need to come into the second normal form. So let us go into the second example. Now, a database is in the second normal form if it satisfies the following condition. It should be in the first normal form. All non-key attributes are fully functional on the primary key. Now, look at the table that customer ID 1 is using the store ID 1, and the purchase location is the Los Angeles. Now, Los Angeles is the store ID and customer ID is using store, but the locations are different. Now, let us read here. In a table, if attribute B is functionally dependent on A, but is not functionally dependent on a proper subset of A, then B is considered fully functional dependent on A. Hence, second normal form table, all non-key attributes cannot be dependent on a set of a primary key. So basically, if the customer is trying to explain the store ID from where the purchase is done, while the purchase location is basically dependent on the store ID, but as well as dependent on the customer ID. Now look at the next slide, you will understand further that how the dependency is removed. Like Los Angeles is dependent on the store ID and the store ID is again dependent on the customer ID. This shouldn't be the case. Now look at this. When you wrote the customer ID 1, when you wrote the store ID, then it is fine, and the store IDs are explained separately. Hence, for example, the location, the Los Angeles, is only dependent on the store ID now. In the previous slide, the Los Angeles was dependent on customer ID 1 as well as customer ID 2. So it created basically the inconsistent dependency. Sub-dependency should be removed, which is the second normal form. In the third normal form, it says that it should be in the second normal form, there are no transitive functional dependencies. By transitive functional dependency means we have the following relationship in the table. For example, table A is functionally dependent on B. Now look at this. The price is dependent on the genre type and B is functionally dependent on C. Genre type has an ID. In this case, C is transitively dependent on A via B. So if you look at this, that genre ID has a price on this. So this shouldn't be the case that one item is dependent on another item and they are transitively dependent on the third item. Now let us see how it is solved here. The price shouldn't be dependent on the genre ID. It should be done in this way, that genre ID is basically kept separately and the genre is defined separately with the genre type, like 1, 2, 3. Like here, genre ID 1 is gardening, genre ID 1 is gardening. Here, it is repeating here basically. 2 is sports, 2 is sports. Instead of repeating these values again and again, and however, price, when you are depending on the genre ID type, that gardening price is $25.99 and again another gardening price is 10. So instead of repeating this transition, you create or split into the table where this price is not depending on the genre ID, but you created just a genre ID separately and the genre type is not dependent on 2 but only dependent on 1. So basically, in order to understand these normal forms, maybe these examples could be hard for you to understand, but you can try to look at many examples and take the interest and try to revise these tables and try to understand each and every word, then you will be able to understand. But your task is to understand as well as to create your database and apply the normal forms, the first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form into a database. Now the next is the database administrators. They use specialized software to store and organize the data. Their roles may be installation, configuration of the database, design, migration, performance monitoring. Their skills and responsibilities are listed here: communication, knowledge of database theory, database design, knowledge of relational database, blah blah blah. And responsibilities are installing, upgrading, modifying, and these things. So I end up this session here.